So I want to first begin about the controversies and then talk about the bigger picture. Just last week, the CBI has filed charges against a former bureaucrat who's worked under you, Pradeep Baijal, alleging that the property that was sold when you were the minister was undervalued. I will first be the devil's advocate and ask you the questions on the undervaluation of their property. They're saying it was worth 152 crore, it was just sold over 7 crores. How do you defend that position first?
But I have written in the Indian Express today and
That's
given various details in this regard. The valuers were selected from a government-approved list by the financial advisors, and everybody accepted that. This value was challenged before the Rajasthan High Court, and in 2002, the Rajasthan High Court upheld the disinvestment and said that there is no basis at all for the allegation which is being made. But you certainly start waking up and arraigning a senior civil servant like this 12 years after a decision has been taken by the full cabinet committee on disinvestment. I can't understand.
The question
and I have given various reasons for that. For instance, to give you one example, they say about the land, that there is so much land around it. But the land you cannot build a shed on it.
That's right.
Because it was in the coastal regulation zone. That was so in 1997. That was so again in 1999.
That's right, yes.
That is so again confirmed like that in 2012. You can't do that.
The matter actually closes once the High Court has said that there is nothing wrong with it. The question that I want to ask you is, why, according to you, has this matter been raked up 12 years after the sale happened? Let's be candid here.
I'm always candid with you. But I just don't know. I think there is some sort of satellite in the Jodhpur unit, because the officers there seem to have started this on Hindustan Zinc also.
Right.
And then when they came to me, मैंने कहा भाई complaint क्या है? कहते नहीं जी वो actually the phrase वो कहते जी वैसे ही किसी ने कहा था.
So it was a verbal complaint.
Oral complaint. In this particular thing, in the FIR it says an anonymous complaint, and you start inquiries on that. How do I know that there was even an oral complaint?
That's right.
Just tell me.
Right.
How do I know there was an anonymous complaint and the officer did not fabricate it, for all sorts of ulterior purposes?
I'll ask you a very frank question, and because you're known to be candid, you've always been candid with us. The question is that, do you believe Pradeep Baijal is only being targeted? They actually want to get to you because you were the minister under whom this was done.
They would have named me. I'm not going to shy away. In fact, it is my practice. It was my practice on 2G when Vinod Vash was being questioned, or Pradeep Baijal was being questioned. It's certainly my thing when Hindustan Zinc was.
Right.
That as minister, responsibility is mine. Don't go after these civil servants. And I've written about that, and therefore I've gone out of my way to just write paper also in defense of Pradeep Baijal, in defense actually of the entire decision. And the perversity of the types of things that the CBI is doing. I'm
going to talk to you about that because I think that is the larger debate, and which is why we are meeting today. The question why I keep going back to the point of you being the minister and the cabinet committee on divestment taking that decision, the law minister who is now the finance minister being a part of it. Where does the buck stop? Does the buck stop with the civil servant? Does it stop with the minister or the prime minister himself? Where does the buck stop in a case like this?
The bucks, if anything wrong has been done.
Exactly, that's my point.
No, so let's see what is the wrong. Supposing you say X has taken money, then the buck stops with X.
But you're not saying that. You're only saying undervaluation of property here.
Yes. And so, Supriya values some diamond ring or these pearl rings in one way. For me, pearl are more expensive or less expensive? No.
That's right.
So it has to be some basis, and this was done by three methods. Three well-known methods is done by financial advisors selected after competitive bidding. Bids are invited, 11 parties come, 5 do due diligence. What else?
And it goes to the highest bidder.
And the Supreme Court in its Balco judgment has said that the value of in a transaction like this, the value is what the buyer is prepared to pay. How many times will you keep revisiting that nonsense?
Let me just step back and ask you the larger question. A few instances in the past, booking Mr. Parak, then Mr. Bhave, now you, Mr. Baijal, then giving them a...
Not me.
No, not you. By asking Mr. Baijal, giving them a clean chit 6 months later. Is the CBI being reckless in this entire process?
No,
Are they hurrying into investigations only to realize they have no evidence 6 months later?
Not only evidence, there is no ground. In fact, look at the Parak case. They said, no, it was such a good decision. Actually, 1,000 megawatts of electricity has come.
Right.
Some damn fool could not have known that earlier. Who does not know that Supriya is or is not producing 1,000?
Before investigating into this.
Yes. So I really feel this is not recklessness. What is happening is that for either the director and others have lost control, let's say, of somebody in Jodhpur. And the situation has come about that even when the senior officers realize that that junior officer is doing something wrong, if they step in, people will say, any senior officer ne paisa liya. So in India, journalists have helped create a situation in which allegation is proof and conviction alone is justice.
That's right.
So CBI can go on doing anything. And I have found that the CBI officers, in some cases, certainly the people who came to me for Hindustan Zinc, they did not understand what shale oil is. I was giving them the example of shale oil.
Right.
He said, "Kaisa tel? Kaunsa tel?"
I will talk to you about...
I said, "Ki nahi, sarson ka tel."
I will talk to you about lack of expertise at CBI because the CBC has now raised concern on it. The question that I want to ask you point blank is that the impression is that the CBI is compromised at whatever level it may be.
But it certainly seems to be the case, the way the cases against politicians come up and the way they go away. That certainly is one thing. I mean, the courts have had to remark on that, on these disproportionate assets cases.
Right. How does one explain what's happening in the Supreme Court right now as far as the CBI director himself is concerned? He is in the eye of the storm. He's been meeting accused of scams that he's been probing as the head of the CBI. He said meetings do not amount to corruption. People who've gone to court against him say that the number of meetings that have happened and the frequency at which has happened, it doesn't fall in place. How do you view this?
Well, actually, I'm very surprised. I've had occasion to once meet him at one of these India Today summits or something for 1 second.
Right.
And I've sent him an email when they started on Hindustan Zinc.
Right.
I sent him an email so that it is not done surreptitiously. That look here, you seem to have forgotten that as recently as 2012 December, the Supreme Court rejected these very allegations on which your people are now starting the investigation again. And he was very courteous. He rang up and said that it was very good that we had brought this matter to his attention. But certainly for him to give such free access to persons who are being accused, who have been accused, is a new thing. And if I may say so, his answers have varied from day to day and in fact from hour to hour. First, that these had not taken place, then that it was only 1 or 2 times.
How did you access the diary?
Then that the diary is false, then that he did not know that the diary was being maintained, then that, well, what's wrong with my meeting people because they give me information, it's their side of the story, they are telling me things about my officers. Strange. You, just a minute.
Right.
You meet somebody 90 times to find out about your officers.
That's ridiculous.
He has a lot of time.
Let me ask you on questions of propriety. This doesn't hold ground at all. You cannot be meeting accused of the case, especially in the cases that...
Yes,
the problem here, sir, is that Mr. Sinha is right now the head of the CBI at a time when the investigative agency is perhaps probing into the most high-profile cases, be it the coal scam, be it the 2G spectrum scam. These are cases of multi-billion-dollar amounting to crony capitalism. Is that why the controversy has got heightened?
But it's very good that there's a controversy and that people are getting a glimpse of what is actually going on. None of us knew this.
This was only being talked about in power circles.
Well, I did not hear about it. Of course, I'm not in the power circles as you can imagine, but therefore I would not know about this. But I think the entire country, I sometimes do not agree with my good friend Prashant Bhushan, but in this case he has done sterling service, and whoever has given him this information really has done national service of the highest order. And let us see if it is now the lawyer of Mr. Sinha has said that these are fabricated.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.